Hi guys, Chris Rowlands here from Aullwood Audubon, and today we're going to sketch a raccoon. We were out hiking Mother's Day and came across a family who spotted a raccoon, and we were watching the raccoon up in a hole of a tree. And so this is for you, Jay. Told you we were going to do a raccoon this week. Alright, let's get started. All you're going to need is regular #2 pencil, you got an eraser, some paper, and we'll begin. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to draw some basic shapes for where the head and the body are going to be. Now I'm going to draw them dark so that you can see them. But these first shapes, I want you to draw them light because you're going to eventually erase some of these lines, and if you draw them dark, you won't be able to erase them. But if I draw them light, you won't be able to see them. So I'm going to draw them dark and you draw them light, the first shapes. I'm going to put in the head here. I'm going to start with just sort of a ovally shape of the bottom. I'm going to put in an ovally shape at the bottom, and then up here we're going to make it a little rounder and a little more pointy. So that's the first shape you want to do. Sort of an ovally shape at the bottom and come to a little bit more of a point at the top. Almost like it looks like a big nose. And now we're going to put in where the body's going to be. And well, you know what? Actually, let's just work on the head for right now. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to put in, and here again, I'm going to draw them dark, but I want you to draw these sort of light. So I'm going to put in the shape for just where I know some of the lines are going to be. So this is going to be where we have the light and dark lines. So just make a line right through 3/4 of the way up. Now we're going to put a line here just so we know where the nose and the dark lines through the middle are going to be. We'll put one there and one here, and I'm sort of making them a little wider at the bottom, a little pointier at the top. There we go. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to draw in where the other lines are going to be for his eyes, and we're going to put one line here and it's going to stop, and we're going to do the same thing over on the other side, and we'll stop. Now we've got the idea of where his mask is going to be, and we're going to put his eyes in. So we're just going to put a circle right here, not right at the edge. You're just going to put it a little off, a little bit of a circle, and then we're going to do another circle over on the side where the eyes are. And now we'll put in his nose. And here again, we're going to make this a little more like an oval, but it's going to be right here at the bottom. There's going to be his nose. Now we want to put a little cup right here at the end because he's going to have a little white showing here. And I'm going to do it over on this side. We're going to do one more circle in here, and this is going to be where the light is shining. So we're just going to put a circle right there and a little circle right there. You want them about the same spot. Now we need one more spot. This is where his mask is going to be, or his snout's going to be a little whiter. And we're going to put another line right here. Alright. A couple more things. We've got to put in some where the ears are going to be. So I'll put that up here. And we're going to give him some little pointier ears. Come down. I don't want them too pointy. Okay, I'm going to take that one, I'm going to erase that a little bit. Now here's where, like I said, you want to do yours light because mine don't erase quite as well. I'm going to make that just a little rounder. I made it a little too pointy. I want to make it a little rounder. There we go. And I'm going to make one more right back here underneath. because we're going to know. Actually, I'm going to do those on the top instead. Here again, that's why it's good to be able to erase. I just made it a little bigger. Alright, so now we've got the basics of the head and where the ears are going to be. Now we can start drawing it in. First, let's go to these eyes. These eyes, we're going to be nice and dark. He's got nice dark eyes, so your pencil gets pretty dark. So you can press down, make sure you get a nice dark eye. There we are. Nice dark eye. I'm going to go around, make sure I don't want to get too much into that. We want to keep that little circle in the middle nice and white, because that's where the light's shining on the eye. If you look at eyes always have that little spot where the light is shining, reflecting. Okay, we have some nice eyes. Now we're going to make his mask, and now this mask is going to be dark, but it's not going to be as dark as his eyes. His eyes are going to be the darkest part. So you're going to do some lines. Now these are the lines for your fur, so make sure your fur lines go in the direction that the fur would be. And you might want to look at a picture of a raccoon. That might help you. And I'm going to bring those lines just out beyond, just a little bit beyond where my lines are that I made, my initial lines for the face. Here we go. And you can take a lot of time. I'm going to do these a little faster, but you can see I'm going in this same direction. Now underneath here we want to keep that part light. So I'm going in just the direction of how his fur would be. And you can see I don't have this as dark. It's not as dark as his eyes. It's pretty dark, but it's not as dark as his eyes. And the harder you push down on your pencil, the darker your lines are going to be. The softer you push down on your pencil, the lighter your lines are going to be. So there we go. We have one. Now let's do this one over here. I'm going to put in, here again, I'm just going a little bit over those pencil lines, those initial lines we put in. You don't see them as much. And I want to always go in the direction, like I said, of how that fur is going to look. You don't want to go zigzagging across, because that's not the way the fur would lie on an animal, and then it won't look realistic. You want it to look more realistic. So always go in the direction of the fur, and look, like I said, look at a lot of photographs of raccoons and study how they are. If you go when they open up the zoos or when they open up our nature centers and you see a raccoon at some of the nature centers or at a zoo, look at the animals, look at their fur, look at how the fur lines are. Study those. When a naturalist and a wildlife artist draw, they study the direction of the fur or the feathers or the scales on an animal to give it more of that realistic look. All right, we've got that. Now, up above, right here, this is the lighter part. And so this part here is just a little lighter than that. It's going to be a little lighter. So I'm not pushing down as hard right through here. And here again, I'm just going right into those lines so you don't see them as much. And you can see it's just a little lighter. I'm just going just over those lines. There we are. And I can bring these out this way a little bit. Bring them out here. Maybe make them a little darker on the edges. Now we're creating that mask. Alright, and now I'm going to erase right at the edges here. Since we went past the lines, I don't want to see that little line for where the white fur is. So I'm just going to put just a little bit of lines right here at the end, just so we know that's where his face is. I can bring this up a little bit. I want to bring those, and you can shape your raccoon a little different. If you say, boy, I want a little whiter head, make your head a little whiter, and that's what I'm going to do here. I'm going to make his head just a little whiter, right up there, little whiter. Okay, let's go to that nose. Now his nose, he's going to have two little lines here, so we're going to put a line over the top here, one line here, one line here, and those are going to be your darkest lines. That's going to be the shadowed areas. And now we're going to make this pretty dark, but not as dark as the eyes. These two lines right here are as dark as the eyes, right there. But underneath, we're going to make right here, we're going to make this part light so that it looks like, and I need to erase a little, I went into it. We want to make it look like the light that's shining down on his nose. So right here, we're going to go a little bit into it, and we're going to be dark here. But watch this, right here, we're going to make it a little darker underneath. And that way, it looks like light that's shining down on the nose. There we go. And I'm going to make that nose just a little bigger right down through here. And I'm going just below the circle, as you can see. And I'm making it a little square. And make it a little darker up here on the top. Just want some a little darker on the top. And that looks a little more three-dimensional. Now the middle part here is also going to be dark. We're just going to make little lines just for where the fur is dark. Just in the middle. This part is dark. About the same color as the mask. Not as dark as the eyes, but it's pretty dark. And up here, it's going to get a little skinnier. So I'm going to put it in. There we go. And it's going to go up into the top. And the top part of his head is just going to be a little darker. So we can darken up that fur just a little bit at the top. How's your raccoon coming? Hope you're having a good time with it. I love raccoons. They're such interesting little critters. Smart little guys. Alright, now at the bottom here, we can widen this right through the middle here. And now I'm going to make this just a little darker right here, just because that's going to give us the impression of shadowing. So I'm just making it a little darker right there. I'm pressing down on my pencil a little harder, and I can press down right here too a little bit. Give me a little darkness. And you can play around with it. Like I said, look at some pictures of a raccoon. There we go. I'm going to make sure it's really dark around those eyes so we can see. And, oh, I broke my pencil. I pushed too hard. Don't push too hard. But I have another pencil already. There we go. So I want to make sure my eyes are the darkest. Now I also have other pencils. There's lots of other pencils. They range, if you go to an art store, there are pencils that are Bs. They have a B on them, like 2B and 3B and 4B and 5B and 6B, and those are real dark. And then some pencils have H's on them, and those pencils are a lot lighter. So you can get a lot of different pencils, and I can get hooked up here and getting too detailed. So we're going to move on. Let's get those ears. Now we're going to have, we've got the basic shape, and we're just going to put some lines right here around the ear. Just some lines just to show that this is going to be the top part of the ear, and we'll put a little bit of lines in, but these are lighter. We want the inside of his ear to be darker, so I'm going to put, as you can see, I'm just sort of zigging it out, just moving in the same direction that the hair would be, because there's little hairs in there. And I'm not making it as dark as the top of the head, but I want this part here to be pretty dark, because that's where the inside of the ear is, and it gives us shadowy look. And right around the edges you can put some lines, make it look like his ears are hairy, which they are. And we're going to do the same thing over on this side. So a little bit of lines in here, and right in the middle of it you're going to make this really dark, because that's where it goes inside. And that'll give us that three-dimensional look. So I'm just putting lines, and they're all going out this way, but not right up to the edge. You don't want to go right to the edge. You want to leave a little white around the edge. I'm sort of zigging it in, giving it that look of fur. And down here we can get a little darker in here. So you can go back just right under the eye. Alright, our raccoon's shaping up pretty good. I'll put some lines in right here. There we go. Make that a little darker right up through the middle. Don't darken everything right away. It's always nice to be able to put a little more dark in as opposed to having to take out stuff. It's a lot easier to put it in than take it out. Alright, now the only thing we want to do now is to make a little part of its mouth just down a little lower below our circle, and we're going to bring our mouth down, and we're going to bring, here we go, I'm zigging over some hair. Now this is where you want to erase. Mine won't erase as well because I drew it so dark. I hope you drew your lines light. Remember, we said draw those lines light and get rid of that. And now I can bring some of this down right into that mask. There we go. Looking good. Take some over here. Don't have to go all the way. That's looking a little more like it. Now we want to bring just a little bit of that light. I brought too dark right through there. There we go. We're going to bring that out here because he's got a little bit of his white goes out beyond his mask. Just a little bit. Right down here. A little grayer. I'm going to take that line out. Take that out. Alright. I think our raccoon's coming along pretty good. And you can touch up, play around with it a little more if you want. Now we're going to put some whiskers in. So put some little lines in here. Just some zigzag. And I'm going to put those down. Got its whiskers. Looking pretty good. Now down here, you could put just a little, real soft. You can see how I'm just making my pencil soft just to give it a little shading. And you can put just a little bit of lines, just a little, in the fur, because you don't want the fur completely white. There's a little bit of lines in here. So I'm just going to put a little bit just so that it's not white. Put some right up through there. That makes it more realistic looking. It's not completely white. Alright, that head's looking good. Alright, we got a nice head here. Now, let's put that body. And we're going to make this body, we're going to make it come down here, and I'm going to bring it over here. So he's going to have his body here. So let's put some fur here. And we're going to bring his body down here. And let's make that nice leg come here. Put his little claws. He's got 5. 1. There we go. Put a little claw. There we are. 2. Put that in there. 3. Another claw. 4. And 5. Make his nice fingers there. There we go. Looking good. And we're going to bring that up. I'll bring his fur this way. And I'm going to put his other hand right over here, and we'll put some claws. 1 and 2. Now this is the back one, so 3. You're only going to see a few of his there. All right, we got his that. Now let's put this, and we're going to put just his back one right here. Make his claws. 1, 2, and we can bring these down a little bit more. His toes, you can't see them all. I'm just sort of zigzagging them. There we go. And his fur is going to come down over his foot. Now we can start darkening this, and we can put in lines. Put in the lines for his toes. His claws are going to be a lot darker. So you can see how I'm making that dark. I'm not making it as dark as the eyes. Remember, the eyes are going to be some of the darkest parts. That's where you're really focusing. But I'm making his feet pretty dark. There we are. And now, as they get up here, I'm going to go a lot lighter. So I'm just going to put in lines for his fur. Put in his fur there. Make sure we see the front there. And all these are going to be just a little lighter. His fur on his body is going to be a little longer. That's looking good. You might want to sharpen your pencil. I'm going to grab another one of my pencils. I have one ready. Okay. And here again, I'm going in the direction that his fur would be. There we go. Now let's make the back of his body. And I'm going to make, there we are. I'm going to make his foot come out a lot more. Matter of fact, I'm going to bring his foot. I'm going to take that out. I'm going to make that room. I'm going to make my bigger pencil here. And this is why you don't want to go dark. If you do it too dark, you can't erase it that well. I'm going to bring his foot down here below him more. I'm going to put him in a cuter pose. Let's erase that. I always keep a little old brush with me. It's a dry brush, and I can brush away my pencil mark. There we go. And I'm going to bring that down. He's going to be sitting down like this. Let's have him sitting down right here. And that way, his leg's going to be right here. He's got his foot right there. And then his fur is going to come down. It's just a little change, but I think that'll be a fun change. And I'm going to bring his fur back over here. That way I can always bring it out a little further. A little better. Now, I'm just putting in pencil lines. Just for his fur. I'm going to make these darker so you can see the front of his leg. And darker here. Now make sure his foot is nice and dark. And his back foot over here. Get my head out of the way. I'm not sure if I'm blocking things. If I'm blocking stuff, I'm sorry. There we go. And his fur is going to come down over his foot. Now, we can just put some pencil lines in. And he's going to have another line right here. And that's where his leg is. So you put a line right there. And his arm is going to go a little bit over that. And that gives it more of that three-dimensional look. There we go. And you can make your fur a little nicer. I'm going a little faster. And I'm just putting it in the direction that his fur would be. Put a little more over here, make it a little darker on the edge here just for some shading, and to let you know that's the back one. You can even lighten this up if you want. You can take your eraser and lighten that area just to give it, and you can see how that almost gives it a fur technique. I can erase some of that. That way you know that is the one in the front. Some more fur in the back here. There we go. That's looking good. A little more fur down here. Coming down his back. So this is going in this direction. Coming down the back. Here we go. And then this one's going to go in a different direction because this is the fur that's going over his foot here. Here's his foot. And then it's a little darker here. Now I'm going to round this out this way. Now here again, if you find a picture of a raccoon you could find a picture of one and look at the fur. When you look at the photograph, look at the direction that the fur goes. That's so important to make your lines go in the same direction of the fur. I can't stress that enough. That's going to help make your picture a lot more realistic. I'm just going to get the basics in, and then we can darken up some spots. We can look at it and just see where it might need to be darkened to give us more of that 3D look. So right back here, we might want to make it a little darker. Right back on the bottom. Give us more of that 3D, and right down underneath where the light, the shadow's coming. And then right up here, just above the leg, we can make it a little darker. Just above the leg, so that we know that'll give that the impression that that's behind it. And right through here, just a little darker right down below. You want that to be your darker spot. It's looking good. I hope yours is coming out really well. I'm sure it is. I'd love to see them, boy. Love to see your pictures. I know a couple of my friends have sent some of the pictures in. They look really neat. Alright, I'm going to erase. I still have a couple of lines. I think I can get some of my original lines out. And that's why, like I said, it's so important. Your first lines, always make your first lines light. The lighter you make your first lines, the easier it is to erase. And then once you know where those lines are going to be, once you know you like it, then you can keep them. Alright, our raccoon's looking pretty cute. Looking pretty good. Now we're just going to put in the tail, and I'm going to make his tail come here, and I'm going to curl the tail up like that and make it a big bushy tail. A little more cartoony than it would be. I'm going to make it come up right around there. So we're going to do the same thing. We're just going to put a whole bunch of lines in. Now that I know where I'm going to put my tail, and like I said, I'm making this a little more cartoony, a little more fun. I'm going to keep my head out of the way. You can see I'm just putting in my lines for my fur. Now I'm not making these super dark. We're going to put the stripes in. But the first thing we're going to do, we're just going to put all of the lighter stuff. And you can see how I'm going in the direction of the fur. You can see my lines. I'll start here at the top part of it, and then I'm going to come down, and I'll go around this side. And I'll come down at the bottom, going in the direction, there again, the direction of the fur. Now to make it rounded out, I'm going to come around this way, go around. Come around this way, go around. That just gives it a little bit more of a 3D look. I want it to curl. See how I'm curling my lines a little bit? They're starting to curl. See how they're curling? Curling it in. I'm going to do the same thing down here, curling it out. There we go. When I go to the top, I'm curling it in, curl it out. Now, we want to put those darker spots, because remember they have those stripes. So I'm going to make these lines, some of the lines, going to be darker. See how I'm making them darker? do another one here. A little thinner here, and it's going to be a little wider here because this part is the part that's closest to you, so you want this part to be a little wider right here, and then as it goes back it's going to be a little thinner. That's also going to help you give that three-dimensional look. Always go in the direction of that fur. Here again, I'll start another one down here. It's going to be wider, a little darker down here. There we go, it's coming in, and a little darker. There we are. And wider down to the bottom. Looks pretty good. And we're going to make his mask just a little darker because we want the face to really stick out. So I'm going to make the face just a little, the mask just a little bit darker. Right down through there. Not as dark as the eyes, but pretty close, pretty dark. I'm going to make it a little darker right here through the middle too. So you can go back and you can touch up your raccoon however you want. I'm going to make the underneath the nose a little darker too. I want to make that nose, that face really stick out. So the claws, its feet are going to be dark. So you want to really look at those. And then now we're just going to put a little shading. I'm just putting a little bit underneath. It's always nice to have a little shading underneath. You can put some grass here or whatever you want, and you can see how I'm doing. That just sort of grounds your picture. You don't want your animal just to sort of pop right out. I'm going to put a little bit, and this is sort of like the shading underneath where the grass would be. You don't have to put it over your animal. A little bit underneath. Here we go. Some grass in the front. You could even draw some in the back if you wanted. And always remember to sign your name when you're done. And put the date. Although frankly right now I can't remember what the date is. I'll have to go look. So make sure you know what your date is and then look at it. And we got our raccoon. I think he looks pretty good. All right. Hope you guys, there we go. Clean it up. Well, I hope you had a lot of fun drawing a raccoon. I sure did. But make sure in the beginning when you draw your initial lines, make those first lines light. You can always darken them, but it's hard to lighten them. So make your lines light at first and then start making things dark. And like I said, I hope you had a great time. Join us again for Art and Nature at Aullwood Audubon. I'm Chris Rowlands, and I'll see you again next week. Thanks a lot, guys.